Excellency Co-Chairs, President Julius Maada Bio of Sierra Leone, other heads of state and government, Excellencies, representatives of heads of state and government, honorable ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is fitting that we are convened in this UNESCO hall today, both because clean cooking means science, technology, and innovation, and because Tanzania enjoys a historic commitment to environmental conservation while promoting societal well-being. With protected areas encompassing 1/3 of its land, including 7 World Heritage Sites, with clean cooking, Tanzania's story of conservation, harmony, and responsibility continues. Clean cooking is about a just energy transition, and it's also about positively impacting our people, our planet, and our environment. It should therefore be a priority agenda for Africa. I, in this regard, commend the International Energy Agency for declaring 2024 the Year of Clean Cooking and for convening this summit. I also commend Dr. Birol and the co-chairs for their unwavering dedication. And I appreciate everyone here for honoring the invitation to discuss on ensuring clean cooking access for all. Ladies and gentlemen, it is said that currently clean cooking access rates globally range from 60% in Central and Southern Asia to over 80% in Eastern Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean. To the contrary, Africa, the continent with the highest population growth rates and with all necessary natural resources, ranks the least in access to clean cooking. Over 900 million Africans rely on unclean cooking solutions, a fact which contributes to environmental degradation, biodiversity loss, and the health hazards. As we see it, clean cooking in Africa has 3 dimensions. Foremost is the lack of access to adequate, affordable, and sustainable solutions. Many households, predominantly in the rural areas, struggle to adopt clean cooking solutions due to high costs, limited availability, and insufficient supply chains. The second dimension is lack of global attention, insufficient funding, and lack of awareness about the economic opportunities with the clean cooking industry that hamper efforts to scale interventions. Moreover, development of the needed solution is limited by insufficient research and innovation. The third factor is absence of smart partnerships to ensure clean cooking access for all. Emphasis must be put on realizing possible, affordable, and tailor-made solutions, and on sustainable responses through development of clean cooking fuels and technologies in Africa. The key role of gas in just energy transition has to be recognized. Excellencies, amidst these challenges, central to Tanzania's own commitment is delivering on our recent launched 10-year clean cooking national strategy, which aims to ensure that 80% of Tanzanians use clean cooking solutions by the year 2034. A national fund will be established to support clean cooking, and the Prime Minister will provide high-level oversight of implementation of the strategy. Furthermore, given the disproportionate burden faced by women, Tanzania will continue to advocate the African Clean Cooking Support Program not to only address the environmental and health impacts, but also empower women as agents of change within their communities. Ladies and gentlemen, Effectively advancing the clean cooking agenda in Africa would help protect the environment by increased use, development, access to clean cooking solutions. Increased access would provide women more opportunities to engage in other productive economic activities, arresting cycles of poverty and inequality. On the other hand, reduced use of biomass fuels would slash exposure rates to toxic fumes and save lives. We are confident that this is achievable. The lessons learned in Brazil, India, and Indonesia serve as prime examples, and in Africa, Ghana stands as an example with lessons to share. Excellencies, I would conclude by saying that this summit underscores our shared commitment to advancing the clean cooking agenda, and central to this are support mechanisms and policy measures that provide a framework towards universal adoption of affordable clean cooking fuels and technologies across the continent. The sustainability of these measures relies on the ecosystem that would mainstream those measures into existing development and environmental financing facilities, and in integrating this in key multilateral platforms. Now, to guarantee a resource for clean cooking, this summit has to call and humble requesting for a generous next replenishment by fund donors, specifically of the African Development Bank Fund, that includes 12 billion for clean cooking, and of IDA 21 cycle of the World Bank, so as to reach a financial target that the International Energy Agency projects require for clean cooking for all by 2030. We thus thank those who have already contributed, and we'll know the number later, but we still welcome more pledges of policy actions, smart partnership, and support in ensuring clean cooking access for all. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Dear colleagues, as Madam President underlined, this issue is a health issue, it's an economic issue, energy issue, environmental issue, but maybe above all, it is a gender issue. And I want to thank Madam President for her leadership in this area. Thank you very much, Madam President. So, dear colleagues, when we had the idea to initiate such a summit and raising the international profile of this issue and also raising a lot of hope, raising a lot of money, we thought whom to start with to ask for the support. It was last year in November, in Oslo. It was a cold day, mostly cold in Oslo anyways. And I was going to visit the Prime Minister, and I thought maybe I should try my luck. I can raise the interest of Mr. Prime Minister to be a part of this effort. Dear colleagues, I had a lot of numbers, and before finishing my numbers and explaining the situation, and Mr. Prime Minister said, yes, I am interested to be a part of this effort. And he is the first one I have recruited for this summit. I thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Prime Minister of Norway.
Thank you, co-chairs and excellencies, all of you. May I call you champions for a healthier and more sustainable world. It was an easy question, Dr. Birol, and I'd like to salute you. This is really leadership at the top level. cutting through bureaucratic talk and going for action. I think this is an excellent initiative. We need more of them. And it's really combining the big picture, as I see it, as we deal with at summits and at COPs and other major events, to talk about sustainable energy, reaching our climate objectives. Are we on track? And then this very practical approach of how do we prepare our daily meals. We all have to do that. And we have this shocking fact that cooking your daily meal is a dangerous thing for millions and millions of people. So I believe this is a real opportunity, and you mentioned, Dr. Birol, all the different dimensions that come together, and I can subscribe to all of them. I believe that this summit is about one of those problems where we can tell the world community we can fix it. It is possible to deal with it when so many other issues are complex. It's a unique opportunity to prevent millions of premature deaths, to cut emissions, reduce biodiversity loss, and to improve productivity and create economic growth. But as you said, it's a gender issue, and it's really also about making life better for millions of women and children. I came about this theme when I was working with Dr. Brundtland at the World Health Organization some 25 years ago. And we saw from the statistics that indoor air pollution is a prime cause of premature death for women and for children. And the image that has always stuck with me on visits to Africa is this. After a dangerous walk that can last for hours to get the fuel, it's the caring mother with a young child on her back, leaning over the cooking gear that she has available. Both of them inhaling, the mother and the child, polluted air from the fumes of the firewood she has collected, as the mother is working hard to feed her family. So this, colleagues, is a solvable problem. So when Dr. Birol raised it with me, it was an old engagement for me that this is not high-tech, this is really low-tech, available tech, and it's really about getting together finance, logistics, and political will to move forward. We know that these solutions can transform lives. We've seen that it works in other parts of the world, especially in Asia. And so the challenge here today is not to reinvent the wheel, but to make sure that such solutions, the technologies, and the fuels reach African households. And I also salute the President of Tanzania for being such a dignified voice on this. She paid a official state visit to Norway some weeks ago, and we had the opportunity to raise this issue, and I'm very happy to be with you on this, Madam President. And then again, here at UNESCO, never before have so many leaders met to discuss clean cooking. So I believe we have a big undertaking. We can now move forward and make a difference. I also meet Dr. Birol in another capacity, and also the President of the African Development Bank with all his initiatives that are really making a difference, as co-chair of the Global Leadership Council of the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. I use every opportunity to underline the value of partnerships. We made a great partnership on vaccines 25 years ago, the Gavi Alliance, that has brought vaccines to millions of children, really secured children from dying of under age of 5 diseases. And now we have to take that approach of partnership, which is not about seminars, but about real action, to governments, private companies, development partners, international organizations, philanthropists, and civil society, and we can achieve more. Norway will, for its part, continue to be a trusted partner for our friends in Africa. We have supported programs in many African countries on this issue, including Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and Mozambique. We have worked and are working with the World Bank, the African Development Bank, private sector, and civil society. And we are now also urging the energy companies that have skills and competence in this to come forward with technical solutions and also finance to support. I'm pleased to announce today that Norway is committed to investing approximately $50 million to support clean cooking. are ready to continue to champion this cause, especially welcoming the private sector and prime among them the energy companies to take part. So, dear friends, together we can make a difference on this issue. And this rainy day in Paris, it is sun in Oslo and warm, I can tell you, is an excellent start. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Dear colleagues, can you please join me to thank Mr. Prime Minister for this 50 million euros coming to Africa. I say Oslo, Norway has a cold weather, but they have warm hearts, and it's one of the expression of that. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, for your leadership here. Dear colleagues, there is an institution which is at the heart of all development issues in Africa, and I am very happy now to invite my co-chair, the President of African Development Bank, Mr. Adesina. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, my dear brother, Dr. Birol. Thank you to all your excellencies, the co-chairs. Your Excellency, President Samia Suluhu Hassan, my dear sister, President of the United Republic of Tanzania. Your Excellency, President Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. Your Excellency Faure Gnassingbé, President of the Republic of Togo. Your Excellency, Prime Minister Jonas Støre of Norway, and thank you for all the great leadership that you provide, even on our joint effort on the Global Alliance on Energy for People and the Planet. And of course, my dear brother, Dr. Faith Birol, the Executive Director of the International Energy Agency. Your Excellencies, heads of international organizations, honorable ministers, business leaders, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me great delight to welcome you all to the Summit on Clean Cooking in Africa. Please permit me, I will be speaking both as President of the African Development Bank, but as somebody who suffered a lot from the consequences of lack of clean cooking as a kid. It's a great honor to co-chair this summit with Our Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the Republic of Tanzania, His Excellency Jonas Gahr Støre, Prime Minister of Norway, Dr. Faith Birol, Executive Director of the International Energy Agency. Thank you all for honoring our invitation. I'm delighted that the COP29 President-designate is here with us today. This means that what we are discussing today will shape COP29 agenda and our discussion on energy transition globally. This momentous summit is the largest ever gathering of leaders and decision makers dedicated to confronting the urgent issue of lack of access to clean cooking in Africa. It is very timely, and it must be decisive. It is shocking that 1.2 billion people in Africa, that means basically 1.2 billion women, do not have access to clean cooking solutions. They rely on biomass, for wood, and charcoal to cook. These hardworking women who cook for their families and their girls spend several hours looking for and collecting firewood and charcoal. With bent backs, they carry loads of firewood and charcoal and walk several kilometers just to be able to cook a decent meal for their families, things we all take for granted. And how can this be? Why must we allow such a thing to happen? Africa loses 600,000 women and children annually from the effects of secondary smoke from partial combustion of biomass, firewood, and charcoal. And that means we will lose 6 million people in 10 years if we don't change that, and that's not acceptable. It's estimated globally that the health cost alone from impaired health is in the order of $1.4 trillion, according to the International Energy Agency, with over half of that, $700 billion, being in Africa. As a kid, I'm not wearing glasses just because I went to university or anything like that. I started wearing as a kid because I spent most of my time collecting firewood and charcoal and blowing into the stoves. I lost a friend of mine. She, like us in low-income neighborhoods, they couldn't afford gas or anything like that. And she had gone to buy kerosene from one of the gas stations close by. They poured petrol into the cylinder for her. She went home, she tried to cook, she died. So did all her family. How can this be? Why do we let things like that happen? Access to clean cooking is more than cooking. It is about human dignity, fairness, justice, and equity for women. It is more than lighting of the stoves. It is about life itself. The imperative of clean cooking is clear and overwhelming for the environment and climate change, and Madam President Samia had laid it out with the Prime Minister and also Dr. Birol. Access to clean cooking will save at least, according to their estimates of IEA, 200 million hectares of forest globally, with 110 million of that being in Africa by 2030. Universal access to clean cooking will reduce greenhouse gas emissions globally by 1.9 gigatons of CO2 equivalent, which is equal to all the emissions from airplanes and ships today, again, according to the IEA. Providing universal access to clean cooking, therefore, is right, fair, just, and the globally responsible thing to do. Our gathering here today will take decisive actions to solve this problem, and I know that we can, at scale, once and for all, for women and girls, for life, for the environment, and for dignity itself. The solutions for clean cooking are well known, from liquefied petroleum gas, LPGs, natural gas for use for electricity to allow for electric stoves or e-cooking, use of ethanol and biogas. We know, at least I know, of the so-called